Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scouts' morning coffee. Right here, I have deployed the stormtroopers this morning, and or tea with American Scouser. We have Trevor here as always with his water. Or
Yeah.
we back to seltzers.
No, we're back. We're
Okay, good. That's
staying
good.
on water for a while.
You know what that means? We're gonna get some really in-depth stuff from Trevor today. And with us this morning is Alex. Alex, what's going on,
Let's
man?
not be too sure.
Oh, nothing much.
What do you have in the car over there? Anything?
Red Bull.
Coffee, tea, water?
Red Bull.
Red
Red Bull.
Bull. Okay. Well, I should have really put more thought into the title of the show when I was like coming up with
You
the
can only put
topic.
so many ellipses, though. It's just,
I guess. Well, I mean, so as we talked this morning, Alan is with us as well. Alan's got the tea, I'm betting, but um, so not a lot of headlines this morning anyway, and we talked about it yesterday that we would probably focus mostly on the game today. So Trevor, for the most part, it's the lineup we expected. I don't think I would have come up with Frondorf and Leighton Stewart up top. I mean, we basically said young kids and didn't even want to throw names up there. I see Alan is with the news that Hendo is in the England squad. We were talking about the national teams too, because I thought, Alex was bringing it up before the show that it's becoming a bigger deal, the whole announcement concept.
yeah.
So let's talk about that first, I guess, because Alex was asking, was this always a thing right before we started the show? Trevor, was this always a thing? And like, do you like it, keep it, or boot it?
It doesn't bother me more than anything. It's kind of in the same vein as when these clubs put these elaborate video packages together for signings. It's it's all theater. It's great in the end, as long as they don't like mess it up and go, oh, this person, we made a video for them, but we decided at the last second not to put them in the squad, and our editor stinks. Yeah, if that happens, that's not good. But as long as everybody that's on the squad is announced as part of the ordeal, then
Well, I mean,
no skin off my back at all.
clearly nobody's these coaches are not watching us in the morning, Trevor, which I'm shocked to hear, but
Yeah.
because we've been advising them to wait till at least Sunday to announce these lineups. But I guess England just gonna announce Trent is on there too. I don't know if that's like thanks to Trent or it's more like thanks to James not being able to make it or whatever. But well, I mean the US lineup there. What do you think of that, Alex? I don't know anything about it. The only thing I heard was the goalie being kept out, and that being a big shocker. But I don't know enough of the team to be able to be like, "Oh, that's a shocker."
I mean, it was Zach Steffen that was left out.
Enough said.
I mean, yeah, I know. I mean, people were shocked about it, but I'm like, did you guys even watch him play for City last year? Okay. And he's not, I think he's at Middlesbrough, right?
Yeah.
I think he's at Middlesbrough, and he's not. If it makes it worse, Middlesbrough is like, I think 20th or something like that, 18th in the championship. So it's not going well for Zach Steffen. And goalie is the whole thing about being on form, and Matt Turner's on form, so most likely they're going to go with him. I think there wasn't a whole lot of shocks. I think other than Paul Areola was left out of the squad. I thought I thought Peckford should have made it, but he got snubbed as well. So I don't know. I thought the U.S. was pretty interesting. It came on the whole show came on after the penalty kicks yesterday. I was like, "Ooh, what is this?" And then I watched it, and I watched it for about 5 minutes, and then the lady's like, "Here comes Craig Berhalter coming in with he's going to answer questions about the team," and that's when I immediately shut off because I didn't want to listen to him. So
No blame there. Trevor, I mean, I know you would talked about like how you would prefer it to be picked. Did it go along what you wanted for the most part?
Not particularly. And some of the we talked about the goal scoring things and how Alex said that they went with Haji Wright and instead of Jordan Peacock, and poor Paul Areola, a guy that's tried to like go through every single iteration that you can for a player of his ilk, has to play in every single position known to man, mostly not the ones that he's best at, and thriving and still kind of getting snubbed is not the greatest look. But yeah, the you look at it and there's really no surprises on the U.S. team outside of Stefan, but that is more of just kind of like a fall for grace from him than an indictment of the selection process. Because yeah, the other guys, Sean Johnson was on an NYCFC team that won the title last year, and Matt Turner is in good form for Arsenal when he does play. Uh, how he didn't get he either had to have been left out for some reason or something yesterday, because the kid that they put in against Brighton was kind of stinky. But yeah, the attacking options were the only thing that I had an issue with, because I laid it out on the table yesterday. Goal scorers are the ones that you always want to have a guy that's scoring goals, not a guy that's system
Has
driven.
scored goals.
Yeah, I, I,
Mhm.
I if you got a guy that's scoring goals and you can't fit him into your system, that means you're a shitty coach. That's all I've said. Like, yeah, you can have the best tactics in the world, but if you can't find a way to get a guy that's scoring goals in arguably one of the top 3 leagues in the world into your team, you're a shitty coach.
Makes sense. I mean, I think like when these national teams come out, it's similar to, I don't know, like college rankings, I guess. Nobody's ever going to agree on the
Mhm.
whole setup. Everybody is going to have like a different theory, and then it gives you an opportunity to do, the aftermath. When things don't go right, you can easily say, well, this guy should have been there, that guy should have been not been there, and stuff like that. So I think these guys are in a no-win situation unless you have like a really established team. And then you just like, we'll take that young kid. He's doing really well recently, kind of a
Mhm.
deal. Madison and Gallagher get
Yep.
chosen. I'm not shocked with Madison. I think he deserved it. I'm kind of like shocked with Conor Gallagher, to be honest with you, because he hasn't been his best. Like that's more on reputation, I think, than form, for example, because obviously he's not the same guy he was in Palace. Um, so let's get to yesterday's game, because I think that's going to be like the main thing to talk about. The headlines are mostly like yesterday related anyway. So Trevor, like I said, I think for the most part we got this right. We figured either Hendo or Milner would be there. We didn't even put those over there and said, Ox, you're freaking old. Why don't you be the big brother and roll these guys out there? What did you think overall, especially out of like the young kids? I think the back line we kind of expected. We got it down packed. We figured Ox. I kind of figured Ox would be more in the front line than midfield, or maybe in the role where he's now more like the attacking mid. But what do you make of it overall?
Yeah, it's uh overall, I think there's a couple kids out of their depth. I think Stewart was uh, asked to do a lot that he wasn't ready to do. Uh, Frondorf, a kid I've seen maybe once before, uh, was a bit too unselfish. He had a couple times where he got the ball in good spots, especially the one where he had the ball in. He had a direct shot on net and tried to like put it across. He also had one where he had the ball through and then he kind of just like, yeah, it was one of those things where the phrase is his controller shut off and he just kind of like slowed down and just waited for everybody to come put a tackle in on him instead of just going for goal. But yeah, I think outside of like the missed penalty, Bacitic didn't play horrible. He didn't do anything outstanding, but I will take middle of the road with a basically a very inexperienced teenager playing in the middle of the park for Liverpool. I will take mediocre in this spot. I don't want the world from him, but yeah, that was for the kids. Those you got you didn't get anything too over the top, but you didn't get anything super horrible.
Yeah, I thought Bajtic actually was really good. I mean, I really like his play. but it's like the same vibe I get that's, similar to Gordon, or what was the other Spanish kids? He's in La Liga now, I think. But God, this is gonna drive me nuts now. All morning I've been thinking about his name. But I think, physically just has to be stronger. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. But I really like his calmness on the ball, like throughout. That was good. I do agree with Frondorf, and I think you kind of saw the difference when Ben Dock came in, which we'll talk about him. But Ben had more of a. He was a lot more aggressive, like almost like play with nothing to lose, and he was more taking
Mhm.
people off. Whereas you kind of saw Frondorf as, like trying to play within and not, lose the ball, maybe trying to take somebody on and kind of, I'll just at least cross it. So I know exactly what you mean there. I think Leighton Stewart, I, it's a tough spot for a kid to be in because honestly, anyone you throw in there to a packed defense like that as a center forward is going to get kind of lost. I mean, you saw Nunez come in afterwards and have to go constantly by the wing, even Bobby, to be able to get a glimpse of the ball. But Alex, what do you make of it overall? Who did you really like? Who were you like, ugh, this kid is not ready yet?
I mean, I when I look at the ratings, I think Bobby Clark was a little bit low for his rating. I know he kind of disappeared going into the second half, but his first half he was putting in some good tackles, some good pressing. Um, he would string a few passes together. I thought he looked pretty bright, and I'm with you. I think Doak definitely has a future. Um, Playing some more games for in League Cup games or whatever, maybe get a loan move. I think that's the biggest issue. A lot of these guys don't have. I mean, they're young kids too, but a lot of them just need more senior appearances, whether it's in the championship or like League One, something to get them under their belt for some kind of experience because they can keep playing in the under 21s, but the under 21s is different than playing in League One every week or playing in the championship every week. They just need some senior appearances um, to get under their belt, and then maybe they'll settle down a little bit. I think that was the biggest thing yesterday too. They just seemed kind of a little bit kind of nervy. So um, maybe it would have been different if like Grandpa James Milner was out on the pitch, but yeah, I think it was a solid performance. I don't agree with all the media talking about how, um, you know, Liverpool survived a scare. I'm like, it's because we played with our children. But um, I thought they played decent yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, sure, it clearly shows that we were like, whatever happens, happens. I mean, it was like just to put Ben in as a sub towards the end of the game shows that we valued more as this like opportunity for the kids kind of thing. And if we progress. I know like we kind of put like Elliot Nunez and Bobby out there, but you knew that we did not take this to heart, if you will. We were talking about it. If we progress with the kids. If we don't, oh well, right? I mean, just the lineup.
Yeah, it is one of those things where if we got through, you're going to be happy about it. But if you're sent home, you at least got these kids some minutes in games that matter, that aren't academy level played in front of nobody. They got to experience an Anfield atmosphere, go through all of that, and really just drive themselves to kind of get to that level and get onto the first team.
Alan is posting this 80 pounds a pint, some drink deals at Qatar. But I mean, first of all, I thought they didn't have alcohol there. Can they have alcohol? I thought they didn't have alcohol. That was like what the old.
I guess you'll go to like the Budweiser kiosk or something, and
It's like, what do you guys have? I mean, it's like non-alcoholic
yep,
beer, I'm assuming, for $80, 80 pounds of pints. I mean,
might
and
as
good
well
luck
set
getting
that
a
money
beer
on
somewhere else.
fire.
I didn't even know, like I said, I've spent some time, like my dad used to work in like a company in like Saudi Arabia, like for a Turkish company way back, but we're talking like freaking like almost 4 decades. And yes, I'm that old. Um, But I mean, there was no alcohol legal in Saudi Arabia at the time. I don't know if it still is or if it's changed or whatever. But I mean, you could
And
get
like
alcohol.
I'm saying, it may be just in hotels, just kind of like that little little concession that they make of, okay, we don't want alcohol, but you're a sponsor and we shouldn't have had this World Cup to begin with, so we have to make that concession of putting alcohol in some of these hotels.
We'll
Or
give in over there. I don't,
if
yeah,
you
I
look at
didn't even
some of
think.
these villages that they have, it's basically just shipping containers. Uh, yeah, those look fun. Go look those pictures up online if
Oh,
you
really?
guys want to
I
have
gotta
your
take a look. I was
if you
going
guys
back
want
and
to
forth
have
with
your morning
somebody.
kind of brought down as a bummer.
Yeah, I was
People
going back and
saying,
forth with somebody online yesterday about how he was so happy that it was in Qatar and stuff like that. And I was like, you're the only one. And I really don't care about the alcohol concept. I mean, that's on FIFA to give it to a country that doesn't allow alcohol. And if the country doesn't allow alcohol, I don't expect them to change it for the World Cup because you knew it when you gave it to him. We know
yeah,
the reasons why you gave it to him, but we knew the reason why you gave it to him. I don't expect them afterwards to be like, how about some beer, guys? Because no, that's not how we roll. It is what it is. So you're the one who gave it to the country in the first place. But let's not even go there. Going back to the lineup over here. Few guys I want to get your take on. We talk about Frondorf and Bobby Clark. What did you make of him, Alex?
Well, like I said, I thought he had a pretty solid first half. He kind of just like disappeared on the pitch for me in the second half. But first half, I thought he put in some good tackles, strung a few passes together. Um, his pressing was pretty good. He knows how the system is. I think he's got a future um, in the Liverpool, like around the League Cup ties and FA Cup ties. I don't know if he'll make the first team, but he looked like a bright player. Frendorf, I don't know too much about him. I mean, I've heard Bobby Clark in the under 21s, but Frendorf, it's like I don't hear enough about him. I remember he played, I think he played in the FA Cup game last year against Shrewsbury Town, maybe. And all I can say with that one was he was subbed off at halftime. So um, obviously Klopp didn't really fancy him to go another 15 minutes or whatever to get to 60 minutes. He was subbed immediately. So I don't know what my take is on him. I think I agree with what Trevor was saying about him. Um, he wasn't as selfish, and I think he was yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't think he was as selfish as he could have been um, in that position.
Dave Leslie is with us. I didn't know they woke up this early, but Dave says even though it's Derby, we have to give kudos to Big Nats. Yeah, I mean that was one thought. I'm glad he brought that up. Actually, that was one thought as you're watching the game that I'm like, man, like this dude. And I know, and I've always said this that he doesn't really fit the system ultimately, Trevor. And like of how we play, he doesn't really. His strengths do not really apply to our back line, but I mean, the dude should be. He probably could start for quite a few Premier League teams. So being like the fifth center back on this team is kind of like he's wasting himself. It feels like.
yeah, and I think that may have just been something where they had a valuation on him this past transfer window, and just no team came for it. And because I think you're right, he's a guy that could probably go to like a mid-table or lower team, especially one that doesn't like to play it out of the back a lot, and would just slot into probably 6 or 7 starting lineups. And that's kind of good to have that embarrassment of riches if you're us, in terms of having that depth to kind of just throw him out as the kind of last man in on a League Cup game. That's great. But yeah, if you kind of want to do right by the player, try in January or next summer to kind of really, with good faith, find a home for him, whether it be in the league or find it like in a different league. let's just say this: if he went and played in Scotland, he could probably work his way into like the team of the season.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I think depends on the team he plays. I mean, he's the kind of guy that, if we were playing against him and he's in like the Villa defense or something like that, that would give you fits because he would be throwing himself here and there in front of shots and, like getting the crosses out in the last second and stuff like that. We're like, this goddamn guy is everywhere kind of a thing, and he would give it fit. So I definitely, yeah, I agree with Dave. I mean, he was really solid yesterday. Gomez is Gomez, is all I can say with that one. Sometimes he does things, you're like, man, this kid's so good. And then sometimes he does things, he's like, Gomez, what are you doing, dude? So it's like one or the other. And that's probably obviously not a good quality for a center back at times where you can't really feel that confident. I don't know, because we've had like bad experiences in the past. I love Gomez as a player. I think like, he fits the system obviously a lot better than Nat does, but it's just like he's got that mistake in him throughout, it feels like. Let's get to the backs real quick. Costas on the left, Ramsey on the right, Trevor. Which one did you like more? I guess more importantly, what did you think of Ramsey?
No, Ramsey showed a lot of endeavor for a kid that his main thing is being a defender. He's not Trent. He's not that guy that's going to give you tons of offensive flexibility. And I don't think he's ever been asked to be, but he did come in and deliver some good crosses yesterday. He didn't look uncomfortable with the ball. He defended pretty well, especially when he was asked to kind of deal with the some of the older heads that Darby had that really tried to like fuck with him a bit for lack of eloquent terms otherwise. Just kind of like do what Anderson was doing to Nunez, but in reverse. It was just kind of like, yeah, pick on him, like a little bit of a mild League Cup bullying.
Yeah, they were definitely trying
he
that
never
wing
really
a lot
lashed
more.
out, which was good.
I mean, they were trying that wing a lot more, definitely, when they were playing the long balls, going after him a lot more. I don't know, because that was Nat's side. So, it's a slower center back to cover it. Whereas on the left behind Costas, you had Gomez at times. And it looked weird because it's at times they would swap, but for the most part, Gomez was on the left. And that's another thing. Gomez did play on his not comfortable side, so you got to give him credit on that one. We don't have a lot of left-sided center backs. Everybody's prefers the right side. But what did you make of Ramsey, Alex?
I like Ramsey, and I agree with Trevor. I think he's just not. He might not be comfortable with going forward. If you guys watched yesterday, because there was a couple times where he was way back there as the right back. I mean, he was where, I guess it's maybe because we're so used to Trent being so close to the box, but I mean, he was like way back there. Like he wasn't pushing up to try to cross it in. And on the contrary, Seamicus was going way up there to try to go in. I think maybe it's more of a comfort thing. I don't know what his experience, because he came from Aberdeen, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know what his comfort level with pushing up is yet. I mean, he had some decent crosses yesterday, probably something he just needs to work on. But the defensive part, he's there. His defensive prowess is there. I mean, he's a good tackler. He's good on the ball, and he makes decent passes. It's the whole pushing forward, and I think that just comes to comfort level. I think that just he just needs more reps in the team before he can finally figure out what he needs to do in that position.
I mean, of course, that kind of goes hand in hand too. If you like, I thought that was kind of like almost tactical, where we pushed Costas up really, really high, and then kind of like, like angled it and overloaded on the left hand side more than we did on the right hand side. That's why you had Fraundorf sometimes find so much space, because when we played the diagonal, because we were so overloaded on the left, he was wide open on the right. But like Trevor was saying earlier, he wasn't usually aggressive with it, so we couldn't capitalize. And here's another thing. I mean, you're playing against a team that's like compact back there, everybody in the box. So your delivery in the box has to be really freaking pinpoint to get past like 6-7 defenders to get to your, one or two guys that's in the box over there. So I did like him overall. I think he is stronger than he looks, because he did not, what I mean? Like, he just does not look like a dude, but he was, like you're saying, Trevor, like he was going against some of their better players. They kind of like shifted it over that way, and I felt he did really well. There were a couple of times where he muscled his way into a good position to take the ball and stuff like that. So definitely good things to see. I'm assuming Alan is hungry this morning, checking out prices for food. But 17, here's the thing. Like, I don't know if you're ordering a steak sandwich and chips and stuff at the stadium. Well, that's your freaking bad, because that's why, especially at least back home, you eat, drink, and then you go to the stadium, because, I mean, it's kind of like the same shit here, isn't it? Unless it's baseball where you're stuck there for 3 hours doing nothing. That's why you're kind of going there to eat. I mean, back home, if you were walking around with like food in your hand or going back and forth to get food, you get your ass beat because everybody's trying to watch the game and stuff like that. But let's get to the man of the day. Because we had a conversation earlier in the Discord channel, bright and early this morning, and we were kind of like talking about, in terms of him being probably one of our top assets to be able to get money off of. I guess, like Dave Leslie is bringing up, though, I did not, when we were having that conversation of different player names that were being thrown out there, I did not think of Big Nats. I mean, as a center back, and, being a countryman over there, I think he should probably be able to fetch a good fee the more we kind of like get an opportunity to trot him out there and show him what he's got. But what do you make of Keller? Are we kind of wasting this young kid on the bench? I mean, he was huge. I mean, the whole penalty thing was kind of like a sham anyway. It just shows how seriously this cup is being taken by the league itself, when there's no VAR and the goalie is like freaking dancing around the penalty box as we're taking it and stuff like that. But what do you make of Keller? I mean, he had some huge. I mean, some of those penalty saves are huge saves, not just guessed it right, especially like the last one. But should he be probably at another team starting right about now?
If I was his agent, that's exactly what I'd be saying. I would love to keep him as the understudy for as long as humanly possible, because having him as cover for Alisson is invaluable. It's something where not every team has that kind of option sitting there, can sit for 2 months and then come in and put a performance like that in. There's a lot of guys that they need just constant rotation, and these teams have to do it just so they're not rusty. And then when they come in, they get put past them. Adrian, it's one of those things, where you kind of want to be selfish of, you want to keep them in the club, but also back to just what we've talked about from like Bobby not going to the World Cup and all these things. You kind of have to like feel for the player, and it's something that, like, if an offer came in for Kelleher this summer and he left, anybody who would poo-poo that and call him like a traitor or something would need to immediately shut the fuck up, because this kid has done so much with so few opportunities for this team and has never bitched about it, has never made any sort of bones about it at all in the media, or you've got all these insiders now around the club. Not one person I've seen have that kid say a negative word about anybody, the way anything's run. So if he gets that opportunity, let him go and clap him on his way out.
Yeah, I think we have like a really solid goalkeeper room, if you will. And I think that's why Adrian is signed back, even though he doesn't play. He's totally okay with that role of just being the big brother in that locker room, to probably Alisson as well at times. Like those guys support each other pretty darn well. You can always see in the sideline or like, like off the ball conversations they have and stuff like that, that there's a good relationship there. And that's why probably Adrian is there in the first place. He's more like
a player coach almost.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Like an assistant goalkeeper coach or something like that. But here's the thing. Alisson is only 30, I believe. So you got to figure Alex, you have, I mean, what, 5 to 8 years of Ellison? And I know, he had injury issues in the past. And so
Mhm.
it was always very valuable to have a solid backup. But at the same time, do you really want to keep someone? I mean, like Trevor is saying, yeah, I mean, obviously we'd like to keep him, but is it almost like too much of a luxury when you have gaps to fill in the rest of your squad to have somebody just show up 5 games a year and show that you should be a starting goalie somewhere?
Yeah, I'm with you guys, and Gally made the point too. I think he probably does need the move. It'd be nice if we put a nice buyback clause on him just in case in the future. But yeah, I mean Allison's got what, probably five, like you said, 5 to 8 years left. The way players are now, and he's 23, so I any decent bid that comes in, I think we take it. I don't know where he'll go, but um, I think any decent bid that comes in, we'll definitely take it for him. Because I totally forgot until Gally was saying this morning that that Brazilian kid is also right behind him, and we have that what's the other one's name? Yaros, right? Is he Serbian? I think he's
I think Serbian,
from
that neck of
Poland.
the woods.
But we have a long list of young goalkeepers. So if Callagher, decides he wants to move on this summer, I think we should let him. I think everybody will give him good praises, and everybody will remember him for what he did in the League Cup against Chelsea and last night. So good on him. I think he deserves the move if it does come in.
The only fear with that is, when we say, "Oh, there's that young kid," and it's like, until we see them, and I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
one thing to be a promising young kids at practice, and then actually be able to show it in the bright lights, especially for a goalie. It's a very, very tricky position where confidence plays a huge part, experience plays a huge part, and playing in a game like yesterday is actually a lot tougher for a goalie when you have a large possession of the ball. You're not getting as much action, but you got to be ready and in the game throughout. So, yeah, I mean, like I say, love to keep him, but if something comes up where we do get a good offer, it's almost like it's kind of like what we were saying with Nats. They deserve to be probably starting somewhere for their careers, especially at their age right now. Real quick, the subs. We talked about Ben already. What did you make of the other boys that came in? What, 66 minute looks like? Elliott, Nunez, Bobby, Trevor.
Uh, Elliot was probably the only one that had any real significant impact. Like Bobby had his one header. Nunez
Mm-hmm.
was fairly innocuous until he took his penalty. Uh, Bobby missed his. Elliot put in the winner. Uh, yeah, I'd say Elliot was the only one that was kind of dynamic as a substitute. And while that's good for him, it's kind of bad that the other two couldn't at least go in and kind of get a goal on a guy that was getting peppered left and right. And
He
maybe
made
that's
some good saves.
just continuing the trend of every goalie not playing for Rangers having. Well, McGregor did have one good game
Yes,
against
the
us,
first
but
one.
then kind of got out of hand in the second one. But yeah, just having the games of their lives against us, and then they'll probably go out this weekend and get pumped like 4-0, and we'll just look weird.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, obviously, these guys really get up for a game like this. But hey, you kind of go past, you go to the next round. And here's the thing, and that's what I want to ask you as like the last question today is now that I mean, a lot of teams have been eliminated, a lot of like Premier League teams because they match each other. So I mean, it's very possible that you get like a pretty nice matchup going rest of the way, possibly. But do you keep this track right here, Alex, regardless of who the next opponent is going to be, and keep playing the kids? Or do you say, hey,
I
man, now that there's a trophy we can win, let's go for it and put in more adults?
I think it really depends on what the draw is going to be.
See? No, I said,
Yeah.
regardless of the draw, how do you go about it? Can't cheat. Can't cheat the
I
question.
well, I think Klopp is he's probably going to give the kids another chance. Um, there's a lot of kids there that will have a chance, and I think the fringe players like um, whenever Naby decides he wants to come back, and
Lost
Al-
cause. Lost
what was
cause.
yeah
He's done.
uh,
Sorry.
yeah. And Oxlade, I think a lot of those guys there on the fringe, give them some play time. I think that's what will end up happening because, to be honest with you, if we got knocked out, because I don't remember who said it. Was it Megan last night that said it? Um, if we got knocked out, I think if we got knocked out of this League Cup, it would have been a lot easier to do our makeup fixtures, right?
Well, basically, as of now, there is no slots.
Okay.
If we keep progressing, if we do not progress, obviously that opens up some days. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that shouldn't be. I mean, it is what it is. As of now, there's time for every freaking game,
Yeah.
while in a tight schedule. As long as we advance. Trevor, do you play the kids regardless of who, or do you say, hey man, now we got a big shot at this? Because I mean, let's face it, any other team yesterday that's a bit more competent could have pulled it off because it was a pretty inexperienced lineup. It's one thing to try it out kids on the bench, but normally when we do this, there's more of a mix. We were talking yesterday, there's more of a mix. The mix was kind of skewed, like the experience was in the back. And there was almost not much experience in the midfield and forward lines. Whereas in the past, you can almost scatter the experience. There's Milner in the middle, and maybe
Yeah.
like you'll have Bobby, or even like you have players that are bench players playing like Taki or somebody like that up top. Whereas this was a lineup that was just pure kids.
Yeah. Unless they draw City, you play the kids to the semifinal. That's what I say.
That's fair. I mean, I think here's another thing. Yeah, like you got to figure 2 months from now, this lineup could have probably featured Bobby or Jota up top. I mean, there's not a lot of options now because obviously because of the injury. So maybe, hey, you can have Kate out there or somebody, if he's still around. So,
No,
you'll have more players,
God,
more experience, I think, to
you
throw
got
out
to
there.
stop saying his name. He's gone.
I want Oxide Keita out there winning us the League Cup. That would be the way to go out. But I think the biggest thing is we, especially in midfield, we will probably be able to try it out Fab, Thiago, and Henderson, for example, this weekend, all rested against Southampton, who now have a coach in Nathan Jones. So we'll talk a lot about that Southampton game and do our preview tomorrow morning. It's way past time to fill the stormtroopers are getting hungry, so I got to feel a smug over here and get the second cup of coffee. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me, and thanks to everybody joining this morning, commenting. Don't forget to like, share, and everything. Get the word out, and
Hit
we'll
all
see you
the
guys tomorrow.
buttons.
Quick programming announcement though, there will be no Thursday night podcast tonight. So our next show is going to be us again tomorrow morning. And Trevor and I is actually going to have a special guest tomorrow morning as well. Not that Alex is not that special. Alex is more of a regular now. This is going to be a guest appearance we're going to be having tomorrow. So thanks a lot as always, guys, and see you guys tomorrow morning.